Welcome, Drink with James, episode 175. I gotta be straight with you guys. I am having one of those days, like I couldn't sleep last night. I had the stupid mind racing thing. I was up till 3 in the morning and had to get up at 6. So that was frustrating. And then I just had one of those days where I stood in my closet and just could not put an outfit together. And this is terrible. I don't know what I'm wearing today, but I'm sure you guys can commiserate. We just have those days where it seems like you're just completely incapable of dressing yourself. And for me, it's pretty easy. I wear a jacket and tie every day, or at least it should be easy. But when a lack of sleep, and maybe you're not quite the season you want. It was a little warmer in New York today than it has been. And then your clothes are kind of away at the dry cleaner and you don't have a huge selection. I'm not feeling my look today, is basically what I'm saying. And I appreciate your support in this time. And I ask that you respect my privacy as I work through this. But if you were wondering, what is he wearing? I'm honestly wondering the same thing today. Also, I'm so cheap. I hate this shirt, but I paid for it. Now I feel well, I fucking paid for it, so I have to wear it. I've been wearing it for 2 years, and until it is worn through in the elbows, I will not get a new one because I'm cheap, and that's the way I live my life. I would not suggest it. Last night we had Fohr you in the office, which was great. If you're what the hell, I didn't get invited. We did things a little different. We're gonna, I think, start splitting up Fohr yous by follower count. So we had people over 50K. Last night we talked about kind of the business side of running an Instagram account, specifically just how to make more money. We had our first people fly in for these, which was awesome. I don't know if it's because we've just gotten so cool that people are flying in, or is this the first time we invited people outside of New York? I'm not sure. They're free events in the office. Maybe let me know if we should be inviting people from outside New York and if you guys would fly in. I mean, I guess it makes sense if you have a New York trip planned anyway that you might want to make it to one of the events. But drop in the comments if you're not from New York and you would want to coordinate a trip to New York in a time when we had Fohr yous. We could probably release the dates of those in advance so that people could fly in if they were interested. Drop in the comments if that's something you're into. One insight that, well, it's weird to be one insight I shared that I thought was really good. But sometimes you say shit and you're you know what, that was fire. One thing that I think is overlooked is just remembering that when you're doing brand work, a company is not hiring you, a person is, right? You are not being hired by Old Navy or Madewell or whoever it is. You're being hired by a person that works there. And what we talked about last night was the importance of relationships, and that your fastest, the fastest path to making more money is building deeper relationships with people at brands. We can do a whole episode on that if you are interested. I can kind of refresh the talk last night in a Drink with James format. So I'm asking a lot of you guys this week, but maybe throw in the comments if that's something you're interested in seeing, and Brian will make it happen sometime in the next couple months. Last but not least, this comes out. It's Thanksgiving this week. Well, it's Thanksgiving the week that this video comes out. I will be driving my new old Range Rover down to Virginia to see the family. Have I talked about the fact that I got this Range Rover? Anyway, it's already sucking the life out of my bank account. It's already a huge mistake. I'm happy to have made the mistake, but this car is gonna suck all of my net worth out of me, I know it. Anyway, we're gonna see if the car can make it to Virginia. If it can, I will look very chic and cool. If you are driving down 95 from New York to the south and you see a green 1999 Range Rover on the side of the road and it's me, just keep going. I don't want it shoved in my face. I just want you to keep on keeping on. I've got a platinum AAA membership, so I have 200 free miles of towing. I am fine. Anyway, let's get into questions. Question number 1, can influencer marketing be automated? If so, how? I'm not totally sure which side of the coin this question is referring to. Can it be automated on the brand side or the influencer side? Let's talk about both of them. When I started the company, I thought that we would get to a point where we could almost make influencer marketing programmatic. If you're not aware of what programmatic marketing is, it is machines that buy ads based on algorithms to get the best deal for the people that are buying those ads. It's completely taken over the media buying space. It is, one of the kind of top innovations in marketing in the last 20 years. That was the idea. It doesn't work, really. We have a lot of tools that get us as close as possible to automation, but what I've found, and this is true on the influencer side as well, much more true actually on the influencer side, but as things near automation, they lose spontaneity, they lose creativity, they lose authenticity. And I think the big difference, obviously, in influencer marketing and other types of advertising is in traditional advertising, I create an asset. I'm an advertiser, I create an ad, and then I'm using machines to purchase space for me to put that ad in the most efficient way possible. Well, and obviously what's different in our space is that you guys are creating the ad and you are the ad space where that ad is being served. And so there has to be, the thing that makes influencer marketing so great is the human element. It's the stories, it's the personalities, it's the connection that you have with your audience. You're not just buying a piece of real estate that eyeballs are going to see. You are purchasing a person's point of view. And while efficiencies are possible on the brand side to make that easier, it is actually the lack of automation that makes it interesting on the influencer side. And I think that creativity continues to be a defensible position in the world, right? Like, a quick, easy example for me is that, like, our life is being run by algorithms more and more, right? And like something that I feel is kind of scary is that I love music, right? I'm passionate about it my whole life. I don't have as much time to devote to finding new music, but as Spotify's automation and algorithm starts to take over your music taste and tell you this is what you would like, you lose that chance, you lose that spontaneity, you lose that like time that you read an article about this new hardcore punk band, and even you don't listen to hardcore, maybe you went and listened to this album and you really liked it. Like that album would never come into your feed through a Spotify algorithm. And my concern with the world is that as algorithms drive our tastes, those tastes will just continue to narrow, because what the computer wants to do is it wants to keep you on this track. And a lot of times, especially with creativity, the things that are most impactful are not things that you like right away, but algorithms are going to favor things that you are going to instantly like, right? But like the first time I heard Radiohead, I thought it was complete trash because like I just didn't get it. And I listened to I was really into hip hop, and so like someone threw Radiohead at me and I was like, this is not the kind of music I like. And then, you listen to it over and over again and you start to kind of understand new things about it. Like great creative work challenges people, and to be able to do that, algorithms, automation have no place in that. The thing that makes influencer marketing so great is that chance. It is that, creative spark, the spontaneity, the way someone tells a story that you would have never expected that sticks in your mind. And that is what makes it so valuable. And that's why I don't think it can be automated, and why I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. Question number 2, would I compare being an influencer to being a small business owner? Absolutely. In a lot of ways, running an Instagram or a blog and running a small business are very similar. I think one of the big differences, obviously, is that you are the product. You're not selling a product. It is you, which makes things a little bit different. Obviously different than running a business that has a physical product. That's quite different. I think one of the ways that it's not the same is patience. I think that a lot of influencers aren't playing the long game. They start their accounts and they think that they should be going on, if for some reason you want to go on the Revolve trips, you should be going on those trips and you should have all this money and you should be flying around the world and making shitloads of money within the first year. And if you've done that and you're able to do that, congratulations. But running a small business, having run one myself and continuing to do this, I'm 7 years in, and I've devoted that entire 7 years to this thing. And when I started this company, I thought 3 years, I'll sell it, I'll be on to the next thing. I love my job. I could do this for the next 20 years. It's not like I want to get out. I just don't think I appreciated how long it takes to build something meaningful, something valuable, because I had been inundated with all these stories of overnight successes, right? And I thought that would be me. I would just start this thing, it would be a fucking rocket ship, I'd be out, I'd be sitting on a beach in 3.5 years, no problem. I'm 7 years in, I haven't seen a beach in a while. Like closest I get is like a Saint-Tropez spray tan every once in a while, which, Saint-Tropez is a client. I'll just do my FTC guideline compliance, whatever, #client. But seriously, Saint-Tropez, they invented self-tanner and they are the finest in the world. So if you're not a Saint-Tropez customer, I really, really urge you to become one. It's so much harder than I thought. And I think that, I now will see a sign outside of small business that's in business for 40 years, and I want to go in and shake that guy's hand, because I realize just how hard this is. And I think that what influencers are doing is incredible, and it's changing media and it's changing advertising, but you have to also you have to take the long view, and you have to think about this as, a decade or decades long project. I remember when I was really struggling and I was kind of feeling pretty down about what was happening at Fohr in the early years. This guy, I went to dinner with this guy, and he was like, most businesses, it takes 7 years. It takes 7 years to really kind of hit your stride. And he was 7 years in, and he felt like, we're just kind of figuring it out. We're 7 years in now, and things feel so much different. I don't worry as much that I'm going to wake up and we're going to have no money and the thing's going to go out of business. And I think that 7-year rule is kind of true. And so if you're 2 years in, I'm not saying you shouldn't be ambitious. I'm not saying you shouldn't be driving for that overnight success. But if you're 2 years in and you feel like this is never going to happen, drop me a line. I'll tell you what my business looked like 2 years in, because it was a complete and absolute nightmare. And I think that for the most part, being successful is just having stamina. It's just being tenacious. And you just say, I'm gonna fucking make this work, no matter what. Losing is just absolutely not an option. I think that's a mentality that a lot of small business owners have. And I think one that, to be successful in running your own thing, you have to take on. Yeah, I mean, the obvious ways in which it's a small business is, I think, that how many hats you have to wear. I don't think of Fohr as a small business anymore, because I don't have 10 jobs anymore. I may have 3 jobs. But when you're running a small business, especially you're an influencer, you're the photographer, you're the art director, you're the PR, you're the assistant, you're the copywriter, you're everything. You're the retoucher, you're the agent, you're everything, right? And that's a reality of a small business, and that's a reality of running, being an influencer and running this as a business, is that you have to be able to wear those hats. You have to be able to do the work that really sucks. I think that's something running a business has taught me, is that you have to be able to get through the shitty work to get to the good work. And every job sucks sometimes. Every single one. I don't care who it is. I don't care how great their job is. There are parts of that job that they hate, that suck. And that's true of being an influencer. It's a glamorous, it's a glamorous thing from the outside, but peel that back and there's a lot of stuff that's pretty shitty. I wouldn't want to answer, 50 emails from brands that are never going to pay me and are going to disrespect me. I wouldn't, personally, I wouldn't want to have to respond to 50 DMs a day. Just for me, that would be very difficult. Parts of the job that are hard, and I think I've said before that success is that one thing that for the vast majority of the world, especially in those of us blessed enough to be born here, everyone's chasing it. So if everyone's chasing the same thing, it's going to be pretty hard to get it. And I think that just how hard it is and how many things you have to do to make it work is exactly like running a small business. Last week on the Fohr account, we posted a stat showing how much in-feed posts had fallen since 2016. We're down to about 2 posts a week on average, down from 4 just a few years ago. So almost half. I mean, I know you're 4 and 2 is half, moron. The numbers weren't exactly 4 and 2. I'm rounding, scotch in here, so give me a break. But huge decrease in feed posts. And if you went back further, to when we started this company or a couple years after, right when Instagram kind of got hot, you were looking at 7 to 10 posts a week. Most people were posting twice a day. Influencers, a lot of them posting 3 times a day. So we're down to 2 posts a week, give or take on average. Let's say it probably ladders up to 10 posts a month is the average across our whole platform. Certainly the algorithm has chewed away at some of that. People feel like they aren't as willing to, they're not as willing to post because they don't want a post to not do well. Stories is probably the biggest culprit, in that people are just sharing those more in the moment, off the cuff posts on stories instead of posts. Also, this stat, you need look no further to understand why Instagram is hiding likes than this stat, right? They cannot sell ad space for space that doesn't exist. And if people are posting only twice a month, the fear, I think, the existential fear is that the feed stops being interesting and people default to stories, not the feed, because there's so little posting happening in the feed. And if that happens, the story posts just aren't as valuable. It just fucks up their whole model. So really interesting to see just how far in-feed posts have fallen. I then had our data scientists do a little digging and see, is there a correlation between how often you post and how quickly your account is growing? My hope was that the more you posted, the faster you would grow. That's not the case. There's essentially no correlation. You can look at this. You can't really see it. We'll put it up there. It doesn't sell anything, really. There's no correlation between how much you post and how quickly you grow. What I will say, though, while there is not a correlation really between growth and how much you're posting, accounts over 1 million followers are posting essentially every day. So quite a bit more than accounts that are not. Did that help them get there? I don't know. Are they doing it because that space is so valuable or because the community is so big? I'm not totally sure. I think as an influencer, you should be shooting for 5 times a week at least. I think without that, you start losing the muscle memory. You're not doing it as much. People aren't expecting it. I think that, you need to also be making sure you're putting out enough organic stuff into the world that the sponsored posts that you're doing Don't feel like the only time you're posting in feed is to do a sponsored post. That happened with blogs. Like, blogs got really uninteresting when they just became places where people posted when they had to for a sponsored post because it was looped in with an Instagram. That happens a lot. It's something I think Christina Caradona talked about before she moved to France, that, you know, she missed posting on the blog, but she was only posting on the blog now when she had a sponsored post. She's moved to France, and that has, you know, recently changed quite a bit. She's posting a lot on her blog again, which is great. But it becomes a ghost town for organic content, and then it becomes uninteresting, and then you lose your ability to make money on it. So I think you should still be shooting for 5 a week. Once a day is even better. If this is your job, this is your job. Post every day. It's not that hard. Listen, that is it. Future James, the James you're watching on the show, is gonna go get in his what is sure to break down car and try and drive to Virginia. Y'all enjoy your Thanksgiving. We'll see you next week.